Good morning and a warm welcome to each and every one of you who have joined us here today. Today's career orientation workshop has been organized as part of the celebration of the International Women's Day. This workshop has been organized by the Consulate General of India in collaboration with the Indian Ladies Club. To begin today's session, I would first kindly request the Honorable Consul General of India in Frankfurt, Dr. Amrit to deliver the welcome address and flag off the event for today.
Namaskar and very good morning to all of you. Guten Morgen. Dr. Dipali Telan, the President of the Indian Ladies Club, all the distinguished panelists and the wonderful group of ladies, a very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the Consulate General of India in Frankfurt and on my personal behalf. First of all, let me wish all of you a very happy and colorful Holi. Of course, we are going to celebrate Holi tomorrow formally, but the celebrations have started in India. So, as we see and as we have gathered here today and very rightly mentioned by my colleague Resi, we are really happy that we are going to witness a very interactive session, a career orientation workshop, and the fact that it is coinciding with some of the very important events, including not only the International Women's Day, which we are going to celebrate tomorrow, but two of the significant landmarks in India, 75 years of India's independence, which we have been celebrating since beginning of March last year, and this celebration will conclude on the Independence Day this year on 15th of August. In addition to that, from December last year, India assumed the presidency of G20, and under the aegis of G20, many events are being organized in India. One of the very important segments or priority areas identified under India's G20 presidency is Empower 2023. This is an initiative dedicated for the issue of women empowerment. But to be very frank, the Minister and the Government of India has clarified that when we talk about women empowerment or the Empower 2023, we are not talking only about women development, but women-led development. A question may come, what is the difference between the two? The fact is, it is not something where we try to belittle women by saying that they need development because they are not developed. On the contrary, they are not only developed, but they have the capacity to bring about development to each and every one globally. So therefore we have defined it as women-led development. So what all is covered under women-led development? The priority areas as exemplified during the working group meeting held in India recently. Some of the areas which require our attention is the digital divide. Often when it comes to career development, and I'm sure you all are going to have a very interactive and fruitful discussion today, the question of digital divide is something which requires our attention. Traditionally, there is always an image that women are good at certain set of activities, certain work profile, and when it comes to certain work profile, there is always this stereotyping that these jobs are fit for women, these jobs are meant for men. So one of the main areas which during the G20 presidency and under this working group that we are trying to focus is to remove that digital divide, to bring grassroots leadership, because unless and until women determine what development means for them, what empowerment means for them, it is not possible from somebody coming from the outside and imposing the concepts of what empowerment is all about or what development is all about. So therefore, one of the main thrust areas is giving women all the possible avenues to decide what development means for them and how that development can be achieved. And interestingly, this is not a phenomenon which is being discussed only in India right now. Interestingly, just a couple of weeks back, the German Foreign Ministry launched something called the feminist foreign policy. A lot of controversy happened because people somehow started thinking that feminist foreign policy is something only which is like, the feminist kind of bent of mind. Those people are, trying to put forth some kind of a policy. But it was immediately clarified that this is exactly in sync with what has been the global debate, the global discussion on what these issues of gender empowerment. And in fact, this is a broader concept. We are not only talking about women, but the whole concept where gender as a determinant is used to discriminate. And this particular concept is gaining currency, and I am sure this is a very important concept which is going to be formally launched in April, and after that a global discourse could happen as to what feminist foreign policy is all about. I'm sorry to digress from the main theme, the International Women's Day and the Career Orientation Workshop, and I'm really happy that this initiative was taken by the Indian Ladies Club, because the fact that many of you have accompanied your husband, or you have come here incidentally and are now looking for job opportunities, and it is very important to recognize the fact that it is a foreign country, a different location, there are intercultural differences, the work culture is different, and it's very important that we know how the two things differ so that the assimilation and integration happens in a very smooth manner. A lot of emphasis is placed on integration when it comes to the whole concept of migration, when it comes to the whole concept of how people from other nationalities they get integrated in Germany. And I'm very happy that many panelists are highly experienced. They are going to share their experiences. They are going to tell you and share their perspectives about what integration is all about. What does it mean when you are in a foreign location? Is it only about the language, or there is a broader area of understanding the culture closely so that your integration is faster and you are recognized and accepted in a new kind of society? So I'm very happy, and I would like to congratulate the Indian Ladies Club for taking the initiative and organizing this wonderful event. And without taking much time, let me wish all of you once again a very happy International Women's Day, a very happy Holi, and a lot of interesting and I would say interactive kind of sessions which are planned in the due course of the day. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure for me to be here, and I'm looking forward to a very interesting and interactive sessions ahead. Thank you very much once again, and I hand over to Leslie for
Thank you, sir, for your words. Now we have the President of the Indian Ladies Club, Dr. Dipali Telang. I invite Dr. Telang to speak to us a few words about the workshop and about the event.
Hello, good morning everyone. So I just cannot tell you how happy I am to see you all here for this career orientation workshop. This was my dream to organize this kind of workshop since long, and I am really happy that finally it has realized. We all know it's not easy to find a job here in Germany. So the only thing what I would like to say to you here is, because I have also faced it, that even if you find it difficult, don't think that maybe I am not qualified or maybe I am not good enough. The only thing is, the job market in Germany is different than the job market in India. So what we need to do is, today what we need to learn is how in which way it's different, and how we need to adapt ourselves to this different German work market, or Arbeitswelt. Okay, sorry, I just sometimes miss English words. Yeah. Okay. I would like to welcome you all to this workshop. Yeah, and I hope this will be a very interactive and productive workshop, and you will all enjoy and take something useful with you at the end of the day. Thank you all.
So March 8th is International Women's Day, where we celebrate what? It's a global celebration. It's a song that we sing of the victory. Victory for the social, the economic, the cultural and the political achievements of women. And to commemorate this, we also have some definitions about women as highlighted in the Vedic Shastra. According to the Vedic Shastra, women are, or woman is, a woman is Aditi because she is not dependent. Simhi because she is courageous. Saraswati for she is scholarly. Mena because she deserves respect. And last but not the least, Sanjaya because she is victorious. I think you can relate, all of you, each of you can relate to these aspects at one point or the other in your life. So what were the adjectives? Independent, courageous, learned, respectful and victorious. We will celebrate all these virtues today in the form of our women who have achieved a lot, in the form of our esteemed panelists. So please, with a big round of applause, please welcome our first panelist, Mai Kremer, who is a personal career coach and entrepreneur. Please help me welcome Lily Vasantini, APP Delivery Head, Eastern Europe, Norway and Switzerland, LinkedIn presence. Please help me welcome Clarissa George, HR Manager, Makua, PNP. Please put your hands together to welcome Imke Hellmans, Leadership Consultant and member of the Party's Pointer Information. And last but not the least, please help me welcome Mohini Kala, immigration expert and an expert at intercultural Germanistic. Round of applause. Now today's panel discussion would focus on career-related questions, as you've already seen, on job market aspects and aims to empower you with the right tools. So let's get rolling. Okay, my first question is to Mai, as an ambassador for women empowerment. What are the best options and methods of exploring new jobs in Germany?
Look, the most important thing, it's a really good question. When you want to look for a job, that's a job in itself. You need to, a lot of us are moms, wives, we have houses, and you need to take time to look for a job, which means you have to prioritize yourself. You have to tell the kids, I'm busy now, I'm looking for a job. It takes time, it takes perseverance, it takes discipline, it takes hard work. It's not easy. And it all depends on you. Nobody's going to take your hand and say, come, let me help you get a job. It's on you. Like you tell your kids, go do your homework, I'm telling you, sit down when you go home and start looking for a job. There's nobody else, there's just you. Your husband can support you, he can tell you, let's order pizza, you don't have to cook, but he's not going to look for a job for you. You have to do it, and you have to empower yourself. That's the first thing. The most important thing, you've come up with a lot of the points. In Germany, for example, if you're interested in working in finance, so you look up in your area, I don't know if you're all based in Frankfurt, what are the banks, what are the Finanzdienstleistungen in this area? You get a list of companies, you can look up each company and see what openings they have. If they don't have an opening, but the company really vibes well with you, it has the values you like, the kind of mission, the message, that's really important now in the 2020s. Apply to them. It doesn't matter. You can send your application and say, hey, I looked at your website, I thought it was really interesting, this is what my experience is, I know you don't have job openings, but do you have a practical internship? Anything, just get your foot through the door. So you can look at it like that. You can also look on portals which you've put there. I'm sure you all know them. There's Monster, Stepstone, and so on. you really have to work on your LinkedIn profile. I've had like some schooling with LinkedIn. It is amazing how many people get jobs through LinkedIn. But your LinkedIn profile has to be up to date, your photo has to be good, it really has to be very professional. I think these are the points. You can also, every encounter you make is important. Whoever you meet can know somebody who has the perfect job for you. So take advantage of every single person you meet. Tell them you're looking for a job. Tell them what you've done. Use it. Your neighbors, your networks, the gym, everywhere you go. Everything is a possibility. So take advantage of it.
Thank you, Mike, for this answer. And as you have noted, Mai used a phrase like finance these lifestyle. We will use such phrases throughout the panel discussion. We request you to write them down if the word is unfamiliar to you, because these terms would help you in your job search if you're searching for a specific field, or and the finance lifestyle would mean that the finance industry and financial services. So thank you, May, for this insight. To take the question to pan it to a specific background for technology, I would request Lily to take an answer to this, because I have seen an interesting statistics, and it says that in 2022, 51.4% of women were employable as compared to 45.97% of men who were employable. And India is one of the leaders in the technology fields, so I assume a lot of this 51.4% of women, where we are actually overseeing men in terms of employability, would be coming from the technology field. So what do you think, Lily, would be the best options and methods of exploring jobs in Germany?
And I don't think I could have even phrased it better. And Mike did a fantastic job of talking about how do you really look out into the job portals. And the statistics and the numbers that you shared just now, Priyali, is absolutely bang on. And if you look at our own selves, I think the very first factor that we will have to keep in mind is the fact of I can, I will do it. Say that to yourselves every single day. And I think that makes a phenomenal difference in your outlook of looking out for opportunities, connecting with people, and even breaking barriers of, will I be able to network? Say that I learned this from my dad when I started working 37 years ago. And it really makes such a difference. And the second aspect is all about networking, right? I can tell you two things. When you start looking out to making connections on job portals, and LinkedIn is by far my favorite, yeah? Don't panic to start connecting with everyone you see. It's not going to add value. It will help in looking at, yes, you know someone, but that someone doesn't know you, right? The best way to look at is, how can you contribute into LinkedIn? There are so many blogs that, and I'm pretty sure when I look across the faces here, you all are so pretty young. And I'm pretty sure you've come up with so many ideas and themes that you can talk about. Even putting down 3 or 4 well-researched, thought-through, experience-based subjects onto LinkedIn will actually catch the attention of the recruiters. Yeah, that makes a mighty difference, right? And you touched upon LinkedIn and the job profile. We think our profiles on LinkedIn are great. I can tell you mine is the worst. No, seriously, I'm not joking about it. And I can tell you I haven't updated it in the last 2 years. What does it mean? Fortunately, I'm not into the job market right now to start changing jobs. But for each one of you, make your profile relevant. In your anxiety, you would have tried to put in your profile to search for a job 2 years ago. In the 2 years you've done something, keep it updated. And there are courses on how you can do your LinkedIn profiles. Just take a look at it on YouTube and look at some of the really good people who have absolutely great LinkedIn profiles. That matters. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Thank you,
Can I
Lily.
just add one point?
Yes, please.
Actually, my and I we were discussing about one topic, and I thought like I'm almost from the same age group, like what I'm seeing here right now. And I should tell you, I have made in the last 3 years, around 560 applications. And every day I used to make like new applications and new rejections. So I think it's part and parcel of the job market that we are in. But that doesn't mean that we are not good for a job. And literally, I can show it to you. My honors were full of 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. And it goes on. It's not going to stop. But I'm sure like every one of us has the ability to find a good job in the market. So it's not that even if you're getting rejections, that does not mean that you're not fit in the market. So that's one point which I wanted to add.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And yeah, so you've heard from our panelists about LinkedIn, where you have to update your profile. So let's take away some weapons today. Like Madurga has 10 hands, 10 weapons. I think I would come back to all of you with this, if you remember the points. So what was the first weapon that we took away from this question? It was to keep your LinkedIn profile updated. Yes. And start doing it today. Start with the headline. As Lily said, as May said, as Nobody said, start with the headline first and then move your way through. Okay. Now after the job, searching for the right job comes the process. So how does the recruitment process look like? And to answer that, we have an HR manager, Amrit. So Clarissa, the question goes to you.
Thank you. So every company has different recruitment processes. Some companies have only one-step recruitment processes. Other companies have 2 or 3 steps, and you have to pass a lot of steps there. So I, for example, would like to present you the recruitment process at Naco Casino, where I work for the service departments such as controlling, finance and accounting, and IT. So we have 3 steps. That sounds a lot, but I will explain why we have so many steps in our recruitment process. So first of all, there's your application. It's your CV with your professional knowledge, and it has to show your hard skills. So, and that has to convince the recruiter to invite you to the telephone interview. And that's just a short interview to have a quick view on your CV and on your professional knowledge. And they ask you, for example, why are you applying with us? What are your salary expectations, and so on. If you move far away from the company, they will ask you, do you want to commute or do you want to relocate? After that, follows the first step, and the second step, sorry. And that's the interview, face-to-face or in a digital way. So I prefer face-to-face very often, but you can do it in a digital way if you are sure you're going to get to know the applicant, or you as an applicant, the employer in person afterwards, and before you get to starting to work there. Because it always helps to see the people really face-to-face. So during that interview, it's not about only your professional skills, your hard skills, it's always about your personal suitability, and it's about your soft skills. That's really, really important. And with that, it has to be an informative interview, and that's a very important advice I would like to give to you. It's not only an interview for the employer, it's an interview as well as for you, because not only the employer asks some questions, you have the chance to ask what you would like to know. So ask about the vacancy, ask about the employer, ask about the company, ask about your supervisor. It is your chance to get to know what are you looking for. So, and after that, we will invite you to a second interview, but mostly we will invite you to a trial work session. About half a day or 1 day, because this is, and we get really good response on it, this is very good to get to know your future colleagues. It's important to get to know better the supervisor and to get to know the work environment. You have to feel comfortable there, and if you don't, then don't start there. And it helps you to get a better gut feeling when you went to that trial work session. Yeah, and after that follows the acceptance or rejection on both sides, so it is always on an equal level. The employer is not the one who is here and you are here. That's not true. So see yourself on the same level and act like that.
Thank you, Clarissa.
You're welcome.
It was very.
If I just
Yes,
add
please.
one thing to it. When you're talking about the recruitment process, and some of the organizations may just do a two-step, and then you'll wonder why I'm not called after them, right? So most often in the technology space, you do a single screening, and what do I mean by that? So be specific in your answers, and it is always good to get creative in terms of looking at the bigger picture when you're answering. Many times if there is a question posed to you, you just give a one-liner to it and then you think you're done. No, there could be a lot expected, so just keep a little bit of a bigger picture around it. Yeah. And the second aspect is also in terms of doing a proper research, what is expected for the job.
Yeah. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Clarissa. Yeah. And so both our panelists have highlighted on different aspects. Clarissa gave a very insightful view on the detailed job process. So it's not a one-way street that you walk. Your employer is looking for someone. That is why the job posting was there. So it's a two-way street where the employer and you meet in the middle. And as Lily highlighted also on a specific aspect. So both sides of the story are there with you. And moving on from that, another relevant question coming from the job process or the interview process to what qualifications. So what are the extra qualifications or certifications in German Ausbildung required for the Indian job seekers in your field? Now, that was a question that I wanted to ask Lily. So, yeah.
So, let me put on the technology hat again, right? When you take a step, so when we talk of the German environment, there are two things. One, you're going to start from scratch as a fresher, or you're going to start with some experience. And let's talk the one where you're talking about with experience, yeah? Why would something different here in Germany be as compared to India? From an experience perspective, you speak your experience, right? So what are the certificates that you need to bring into, right? When you are doing client-facing roles, especially in the technology space, a smattering of the language helps you go miles. Not all organizations are English spoken because most of the business users do speak German. And I think we should just put on the hat of we have come into an ecosystem which we must embrace, while the ecosystem is willing to embrace us, right? And what does that mean? If you go back to the, especially if you go into working in the technology space, in the industries, be it automotive, be it retail, be it life sciences, banking, whatever, you look at the person you're going to talk to. The person is coming in with a 30, 40 years of industry experience and is a complete native who knows the subject so damn well really need not be good in English because he has done his job. And he's the person or she's the person you're going to meet up with. So all your skills in the language front. And most important, when it comes to certifications that you additionally require to start working here, keep your documents straight. It's not about your school marks cards and your degree certificates and all, which I'm sure Moni will touch upon when we're talking about the immigration part. What's important is, if you're taking a specialization, say for example, you're talking about security. So if you're talking about cyber security, for example, what are the certifications you've done? Keep those documents up and clean, yeah? Because that is, many times when we are in the interview process and you're not able to convey something and you put down your certificate there, it catches the eye of the interviewer. Yeah?
Thanks. And I have also the same question to Imke on the basis of your experience as a headhunter. So you have scanned immense number of profiles daily, and also because you have done fortbildung yourself with your MBA. So if you could handle this question on both of the aspects, and the question would be the same as I did to Lily. So what are the Weiterbildungsmöglichkeiten, what we should take care of in terms of the further studies that we need to do to gain experience in the job?
I would like to refer to Lily, what she said about the language. Don't underestimate it. In Germany, German is spoken in the companies, even though the job description is in English. Best would be to address, write your application in German. Also your CV. I see many CVs written in English, for reasons. I've done it once in English, then I keep it in English. Write it in German and try, to highlight your language skills in your application, because even though Germany thinks it's so international, it's not. The German market is still very German. So speak German and show that you're familiar with the German language, or that you're eager to learn German to please your future employer. So I think this is very important. And of course, women are, at least in Germany, maybe it's in India the same, women are highly qualified. They're even better qualified than their male colleagues. They have better grades. So you could be very self-assured, when you apply for a job. So qualification, of course, is very important. Look at the job description and see what they require from you, and highlight that you are exactly the person who has exactly these skills. Highlight them. And I would like also to add something to the interview. Interviewing, it's about storytelling. So tell your story. Use 1 hour, to be on the stage and use the stage for yourself. Because afterwards, after I've seen 8 or 10, people who apply for a job, I remember the person who has told the best story. And I'm not talking about big mouths. I'm talking about a person who really have to tell something. So this is so that you get out of the interview and say, oh wow, this person was really inspiring. That it really touches my skin. So learn to not only to answer with one sentence. Yeah. So I've done that and finished. No, use the good time. And also, as you said, use questions. When you come into an interview, it's not a one-side conversation. It's in both directions. So in German we have the saying, the one person who asks questions, he's or she's the leader. So be a leader in your interview. So this is my comment.
See, one of the things that I really found very useful is mind mapping. Right? Put that down before you walk into the interview. We tell our children as they do your homeworks, let's do for ourselves for the interview, and then you'll know what you to tell. Right? And it's okay to rephrase, paraphrase questions when you're being asked during the interviews. Yeah. for clarity. So you know what you're going to say, and the person knows what you're explaining. Yeah?
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Imke. Thanks a lot, Lily, for your insights. So this reminds me also of one of the facts that we often tend to ignore. A man, when he walks into a meeting room, he is kind of poised and takes it slow. A woman wants to reach the goal, so she just hurries in and sits. Take time to walk in, Take time, like lion is always prancing, prowling. Maybe, try that. Okay, and that's something I've heard so many times. I've seen people walking in coat because they also wear a coat, they unbutton the coat. Button and then they sit, so it all obviously is consuming. Maybe you start wearing coat as well. Okay. To talk about on the same terms that our panelists have already taken the question, we now come to the most important aspect of being in Germany, the language proficiency. Yeah, it's a tongue twister for me. So, what role does German proficiency play in the international job market? Now, that I would like to propose to Clarissa as a question in her role as the HR manager. Clarissa.
Thank you. Imke has said a lot already. She already said that German companies are very German, and that's true. Even if they work very international, so do we. We are really German. Our business language in the company is German. I guess it's a bit different to tech companies. There it is very often English. Imke already said, show them that you're willing to learn the language. That's very important. Many companies strive for inclusion and diversity, so take that as your chance now. And it often depends where you apply. You will apply, I guess, maybe in Frankfurt. I guess most of you are located in Frankfurt. So here are many international companies with business English as their business language. I would like to give you one advice. If you're not sure your German skills are good enough, just call them. You can call them, you see the advertisement, maybe in German, maybe in English, and there's a number on it, and you often get redirected to the recruitment center or the recruitment department, and just ask them. Tell them that you saw the advertisement and what German skills are necessary. Just ask them, that's your first step in the door. So don't hesitate for that, because that's why are they therefore to answer your questions. And that's one advice I would like to give to you. Another advice to refer to Imke again is if the advertisement is published in English, apply in English, you can apply in German, but if it is in German, apply in German, please. That's really important, because otherwise you have the impression that your German isn't good enough that you can apply in German, so you apply in English, and that's not the best step in the door then.
Yeah, I just have one.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I think it's a great idea to call, because if you don't call, I will call to find out whether you can talk German. Yeah, and how fluent you are in German. So be proactive. I think it's a great advice.
So thanks, Imke and Lily. I think you can add your, the next question's to you more, Lily. Okay. So you can add what you want to say.
In the question,
Yeah, perfect. So we touched upon language, and the next comes with it is immigration. Yeah. So that's your forte. And as an immigration expert, Mohini, what would you say are the most important aspects of a CV? And please add on to your insights about the German language's proficiency.
So I'll start with the German language. The application of German language in work field, like we just spoke, like how important it is to have your CV in German. I teach German to professionals who work in companies, and they learn German to they want gesprochene Sprache, like you speak the language, because they want to argue with the supervisors, because they feel so left out in the meeting, for example. They want to learn German just to argue with their supervisors, just to put out their points, just to say what their opinion is. And that is something which we cannot do in English, for example. And they just want to learn these sentences. But yes, it does make sense if you really want to learn German, also having that thing in mind. But you start, like when you talk about language, I always say language is the key, and it's very difficult to say where to start with it. Like you just start and you go ahead. So that is one thing. And the second question was with regard to the CV.
CV, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that is also one of my favorite questions, I would say, because I made too many trial errors myself while formulating my own CV, and I still do it every day. So, but where I come ahead is I have, to be very practical, there are only a few points that you need to mention in your CV. It shouldn't be what we say, janky-panky, complete, colorful or something. It is also okay if you have a simple CV. That is something also what we were discussing before. You need your personal information. There are a few things which I would like focus in the CV. The one is personal information. I would formulate the CV according to the job description and not allgemein, not a general one. I would always focus on what the job description is, and I would adjust each of my CV according to the job description. I wouldn't send random CVs to random job postings which are available in the market. I will take time to change the CV according, and not only the CV, also the Anschreiben, also the motivation letter that we need to send out. That is one thing. Secondly, you start with the personal information. I would always prefer, and I also have seen good success stories behind this, that you put your work experience prior to your educational qualifications. Especially in Germany, I don't know how the Indian market looks like. I really have no experience with it. But in Germany, basically, if you're applying for a job, I would myself put my work qualifications earlier, prior to my education qualifications. Then I would go to my ADV kenntnisse, I don't know what is it in English. Computer skills, yeah. And also the languages that you can speak. Yes, you see someone like me. My parents also scold me on this because I always mix up stage. So, and also the language proficiency part. So this is what I would always have in the CV, and I would avoid writing sentences, and I would put only bullet points. I have seen CVs, I myself worked as a cross-border recruiter in Deutsche Bahn, where I hired interns especially, and I used to see CVs where they wrote whole sentences. You don't need sentences, it just takes a lot of time. So it's always preferable that you have it in bullet points and no long sentences in that. And we generally tend to say that the CV should be kurz und knapp, very, very short. But I myself would say it's always it's good if it's also a bit in detail. If there are bullet points and a bit in detail, so that would go.
Yeah. Thanks, Bhumini. Yes. Yeah, please.
May I add something? Okay. Put your hands up. How long? I got this information from a headhunter, a big headhunter. How long do you think a person takes looking at your CV? Put your hands up if you think it's 1 minute. Put your hands up if you think more than 1 minute. Put your hands up if you think 30 seconds. That's what he said? And you're like, what? I've spent weeks on this. But it takes 30 seconds. So it has to be really clear, it has to be nice font, it just has to be to the point. And it can't be pages long, 1 page, 2 max. And if you worked in a kindergarten 15 years ago for 2 weeks, it doesn't have to be there if you're applying for an IT job. Not everything is relevant. Of course, if you have a huge, gap, again, we're going to talk about gaps, you need to cover that, but, not every single job needs to be put in there. And exactly what you said, you can't just send the same CV. The people know. They can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, she sent the CV to like 100 jobs.
Yeah.
You know, it has to be very specific. The 30 seconds, so you have to catch the eye.
Yeah, thanks Maya, thanks Rohini. So you are getting weaponized, empowered through these modern day weapons. Imagine yourself as Durga. First weapon, what was it? Very good. So our intelligent, remembering ladies. What is the second weapon you got now? Updated CV, bullet points in the CV, and you're all, I'm sure all Indian women love or take a peekaboo on Facebook. Timeline option. Try to highlight your CV in the timeline, you know, like India's independence, something like that, you know, just right, so that it sticks. So jokes and stories sticks. Maybe you, this year I qualified BTech, this year I got my first job in, as a developer, so do this timeline option, yeah? Okay, moving on from that to very interesting question and very relevant as well. In the trade-off between hard skill versus soft skill, especially focusing on interview, where you don't have much time, to impress your employer. So there are two aspects, your qualification and certificates as your hard skill versus your body language, your teamwork, your flexibility as soft skill. What is more important? I would like to ask this question to Lily, based on the fact that first impressions are last impressions.
Absolutely. And how many of you have told yourselves that you're here by choice and not by chance? 3 hands, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. I mean, all of you told yourselves, but nobody's raising your hands up. It starts here. And this is not about technology, this is about your soft skill, your confidence. You are definitely here by choice. If you're here in Germany, it's a choice. Some of you could tell me my spouse or my partner decided to work in Germany, so I came along. Fine. But then if you have... And so if you're going to look at a trade-off between am I going to be technology savvy and present myself on all technical skills, or do I need to focus on soft skills? There is no two way. You need both, and you need both 100%. And soft skills is a kind of an enigma, let me put it that way. It's not about presentation skills, or it's not just about talking, or it's not just about team building. It's about presenting yourself completely. Because just remember, you've got only 30 seconds that the person is looking at your profile, has called you in, probably gives you 45 minutes to 1 hour, and you may not even have a second chance to be called back to impress. My sincere advice would be, stand in front of the mirror before you walk out for the interview. And I tell this to my son, he's 33. Speak confidently, and if your reflection is not going to show confidence, you're in trouble. So, if there's a balance that you need to do, you need to be absolutely razor sharp. Remember, you will not just handpick, there will be 100 who will handpick for the interview. Right? And you need to come out best. So tell yourselves, I'm here by choice and I want to make it. Yeah?
Thanks a lot, Lily, for this wonderful insight. And Lily talks about valuable aspects of building confidence. How do you build it? Say, I've placed my CV 100 times and I've faced 100 rejections. 101th time, I would just want to apply for the job, not want to put in the effort of changing my CV, but it's important. Hard work behind, that no one sees. It's important, even if it's late, to tailor your CV to the exact specific job that you're applying for. Like Lily said, to build up confidence, You have to do the hard work. You have to practice in front of the mirror if required. Yeah, this goes unseen, but it's always there for success. So don't get disheartened. Okay, I'm just applying randomly. Yeah, this will also be rejected. No, this might be the chance. So put in the extra mile. Put in the hard work. Yeah, and yeah, I was getting swayed with my experiences of applying. Sorry about that, but I think the next question is also very relevant because it's connected to soft skills. So I would like to ask Imke, what is the best way to convince your interviewer about your soft skills?
Well, I would like to start with Germany, and you're sitting probably in front of a person, the typical German who is very interested in other cultures, who has traveled a lot. You can find Germans in any corner of the world because Germans have the money and the will to discover the whole world, But when you're in Germany and you work in Germany, people then become very conservative and they sit in front of you and you're from a complete other background, yeah. So I would start by socialize with Germany. So some very typical thing about Germans is going to a club, be a club member. So being member to a club is one way to get into German society. Become member to a football club or a tennis club or whatever club. So then you pick up, German behavior, of course the language, but also the behavior. You get familiar with Germans, and then the interviewer he does I don't know the English word. He's not strange with you because you see, he's in a football club or she's in a football club or she's doing something that I'm also doing. It seems very simple, but imagine you are in India and you have to employ a German, and that's a complete stranger to you. The whole culture, it's not familiar to you. So you try to find something in that person, that you are familiar with. So that you could cling on, to correlate with. So I would start with other than the language to get social here in Germany, and you do it if you have kids. You have a great chance to have it at school. Attend the school meetings. Attend when you get invited as a parent. Because this is the way, through your children, you get into the German society. Meet with German mothers, So get familiar with Germans. I think this is a very important aspect.
If I might just add one thing to what you said, when you get to meet people, I've found it many times in anxiety. The very first thing we say is, sorry, I thought I'm too loud. No, but one of the first things that we tend to say is, I'm looking out for a job. Is it familiar? Don't ever make that mistake. Don't ever make that mistake, because when you're meeting a stranger or you're getting into a group of, say, like she said, it could be a school club or whatever it is, right? Try to bring out your talent and skill. Bid your time. And then when you get familiar with that environment, you could always say, you know what, I'm thinking I'll also do this. I'm looking out for a job. The moment you break your conversation saying, I'm going to look out for a job, I'll tell you that person will avoid you in the next round. When in a crowd. Don't do that. Yeah?
I just wanted to add one point. It was really nice the way you put it in. When we're talking about the CV, I just wanted to add one thing. Down you have the section with hobbies.
Hobbies, yeah.
You have to make them, this I learned as well, you make them very specific. So, spazieren gehen. No, you have to say, I like to go for a walk in the forest or by the river. Because then if the person interviewing you also likes the river, then you can talk about how nice it is. It has to be, if you like to read, what do you like to read? Science fiction, crime. So if you put these on crimes, then you have something to talk about, and that's where the soft skills come, and it makes it a bit easier. Then he gets to know you. So that hobby section is not just whatever, cooking spicy food or Italian food. That would make it, unusual. Something that they can relate to.
Very important, Maria. And I added this as a question which we would also take later, that is referring to the German way of thinking, which is opposed or different from the Indian way of thinking, and at the point of being thorough or gründlich, like not to end the sentence midway, I like to go for a walk, but there, that is the important part, So we would take it as a question, and I would request all the panelists from now maybe to stick to the question that we are just asking them for this just for the sake of time, because even I am getting carried away sometimes with the answers for the pure interest of helping our audience here, yeah? Okay, this is for Clarissa. Just because we were doing the best way to convince people with soft skills, what are some of the most difficult questions that one might face in an interview?
Well, I know that many companies or some companies ask some mean questions to test if you're stress resistant. I don't like that a lot because I think as an HR manager in an interview, I have to set up the interview in the most comfortable and friendly atmosphere so everyone feels comfortable and not scared. So you can't act really naturally, and it's all about authenticity, so you need a friendly atmosphere. There are some questions that are forbidden to ask for employers, and you have in the German law the right to lie, and it's about your religion, about your plans to get married, your plans to get some children, your living conditions, and disabilities or healed diseases. So you don't have to answer those questions.
Thank you so much. And just taking it away, sweeping it to Imke, is there a way to respond confidently to such questions?
Well, as you already said, some questions you may even lie. For example, if you're pregnant or not. This is this question is not allowed, so you don't have to answer to that. One question always comes. It's about the money. I think you should really come to terms what you really want to get out of this job and what you want to charge your future employer. So unless you're completely unsure what you should ask for, I would really make up my mind before I go into the interview, and then during the interview I would think about self-reflective about how did I perform, how do I perform, did I take the stage, are they really eager and hungry to hire me or not, because it rises the price or not. So I think this is also very important. But if it comes to nasty questions, I agree with you. I don't like an unfriendly atmosphere at all. I think it's very important because if you see that already the atmosphere in the interview is not friendly and it's provocative or whatever, tries to squeeze you in the corner, it's not the right employer for you. Don't go there because it's a bad atmosphere. I wouldn't go there. I would be self-assured and create an atmosphere that you like. And if the employer doesn't like you, you don't like him. So you don't go there. So and if you are confronted with a question that you don't want to answer or not in that way, try to avoid it by telling something differently, or we Germans, we are very direct. Tell them you would like to answer to that question. You would rather focus on whatever you want to talk to. So this shows also your self-confidence that you're able to lead an interview into your direction. Yeah.
Thank you, Imke. Very insightful and very helpful as a tip. So the next question goes to Mohini because it's related to document preparation. Is there a golden rule or golden pack of set of cards as documents that I can keep prepared for an interview, which might be helpful?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. This also has something to do with an intercultural aspect. and that is working very detail oriented. Sorry. And that means that your documents that you're preparing should also be very accurate. You cannot name one document Lebenslauf, the second one master certificate, and the third one bachelor certificate, and the fifth one, let's say, Mohini Kale and motivation letter. You need to make the documents. You need to name the documents accurately, and there should be a proper format for it. Always follow this pattern for all of your documents, or like for all of your interviews and preparatory things that you're doing. That would be one thing. And second thing is, for bigger companies, they always have a portal where you can upload documents, where you can also upload single documents. But there are a few Mittelstand companies, small scale industries, where they just give you an email address saying you can send your documents here. So in this case, I would always prefer to combine these documents and then send it as one PDF file. And the third thing, which is very important, is I would always number the document, saying which would be the first document that my employer would like to see. So I would always put like 01 underscore Lebenslauf, 02 underscore Anschreiben, 03 underscore Masterzeugnis, or whatever it is. So I would always number these documents so that when you compile them, the employer that opens sees the Lebenslauf first and not some random document, some random certification that you did 15 years back. So that is something I would like practical tips for the preparation of the documents.
Thanks, Mohini. So please take these as powerful weapons, write it down, sealed and secure with you. Moving from Mohini to May for the question regarding vitamin B or Beziehung. How important are contacts, building the right kind of contact network in Germany?
Absolutely essential. I mean, like you said, like a lot of us have said, networking is very important. For example, for me, I have my own company. I'm part of a social entrepreneurship network. I'm part of the Rotary Club International, because they speak English, and that's really nice. I'm part of a women's startup digital thing with all women who support one another. You know, you need to find the network that you particularly need in order to help support you. You know, whether it's a group of friends, you say we do this together, we help each other every week to send CVs out, to encourage one another. Absolutely essential.
Yeah, thank you, Mai, for this, because coming from vitamin D, Beziehungen in Germany, Beziehungen means relationship, going to letter of reference, And now my question would be to you, Clarissa, as an HR expert. Are there categorical differences in terms between a reference letter or a referral, or what are the different documents related to those?
Yeah, often I see testimonials and Zeugnisse. It could be an interim testimonial, a Zwischenzeugnis, or a testimonial you get when you leave the company, an Abschlusszeugnis, that gives you a good hint about what have you done so far, so what were your tasks in that specific job, and gives you a clue about your soft and hard skills. But you can always see it as an indicator. And a reference letter is more, so the difference between a reference letter and a testimonial is legally required. You have the right to get a testimonial. A reference letter is something really personal. It is something your supervisor writes to just appreciate your achievements you made or you had in the former role or position. So both are very good to add to your whole application. You have to add them, and it is always good to have a reference letter with a referral contact. So I could, as an HR manager, call the referral contact and just ask, and get an impression of your work and of your achievements.
Thank Thank you, Clarissa. Very important aspect. Also, more weapons added to our Madurga. The embodiment of, the working lady, the multitasker. And coming to the next question, which is the kind of work permit, and I will look in the direction of Mohini. What kind of work visas or permits are required to work in Germany?
This is also a very interesting question. I think most of you, or like most of us, some of them come for studies, or like some of them come with their partners here. So when you come here with your partners as spouses, most of the time you're allowed to work. And how do you see it? It's not a general thumb rule, but you always need to check whether you're allowed to work or not. Because this becomes a problem. You're selected in an interview, and later it becomes an issue that you're not allowed to work, for example. So it's always better that you have it handy, that you're allowed to work. And secondly, it's always good that you mention it also on your CV. What kind of status you have, and are you allowed to work in Germany or not? So it eases the task of the recruiter also once he or she is ready to recruit you. So what is written on your visa, or what is written on your Zusatzblatt, the green addendum that we get, is Erwerbstätigkeit erlaubt. That means that you're allowed to work. This is one aspect of it. The second aspect is you get a work contract, and you don't want to be a dependent now. You want to have your independent permit. So in that case, it is a bit catchy, because your degree certifications and in the field of area that you want to work, that must go hand in hand. And that makes the process easier, so that you have an independent permit of your own. If it is not the case, then it needs to be discussed with the immigration office whether they are ready to give you an independent permit or not. So these are like the two main aspects, I would say, of the type of work permit that you need by working here.
Thanks, Mohini. So work permit, powerful weapon again. And now coming to the last but not the least question to my esteemed panelists. Self-doubt as a woman of Indian origin, as a non-German in Germany with respect to the German job market. I would like two of my esteemed panelists to take this question. One would be Lily to explain a little bit about the Indian aspect of thinking, and then I would move to Imke to explain a little bit about the German thinking.
I think we touched upon this question in various forms today, and I would leave you with three things, in fact. I made a choice, I can make it, and that's the reason why I'm picking up this job. Right? And that, just look at it a little further in terms of, am I technically qualified in terms of my ability to do it? Do I have the right certifications and the permits to engage myself with the employer? Right? So, knock off that little bit of it. I mean, it's always good to be anxious, and I think we were just talking about it a little earlier today. A fine line between paranoia and anxiousness and doubt. It's a fine line, it's okay. And all of us are familiar with cricket, right? Even though you've scored 100 runs in the previous day, the next day you start with a 0.
Yeah.
It's okay. So it's okay to have the little bit of a doubt, but don't overplay it. Yeah?
Thank you, Lily. Yeah. And I would directly move on to that question.
Thank you. I would like to come back to one very important point about the German job market. German HR people, they are crazy about degrees and testimonials. So every time you're leaving a job, make sure that you get a testimonial, because you will be asked, for it. So you have the right to get one. So they can't deny it to you. Plus, you have to show your degrees. Germans are crazy about degrees and, certificates, what you have done. Other than, for example, in the United States, where you can come from Schuhscheinboy to millionaire. In Germany, you need a qualification. They ask for your qualification, they want to see it. Even I do an executive search, even for high positions, sometimes these crazy people want the Abitur, which is, the certificate, why you were allowed to study. So, sometimes I'm asking myself, why do they want to see it? But anyway, they want to see it, they see it. Okay. Other point, to come back to your question. You should be aware that India is on the rise in Germany with regard to, political correctness. You come from a democracy. This is now, India is rising, China is falling. So this is your time. Yeah, this is your time. So, be aware, also with regard to your qualification, you're famous for Bangalore, for your IT knowledge, your qualification. So be self-assured, you're highly esteemed, by those Germans who know India already. And now it's coming to the general awareness. India is on the rise. We can see it, we can feel it, and in Germany, it's companies are obliged to diversify. No, it's not only about women and men. It's about being diverse in the company, and that also includes people from other cultures. When I was young, when I started in HR at Siemens, which is a huge German company. My boss, he was the HR leader of my business unit, and he gave me a little book. It's called The Peacock and the Land of Penguins. And it's a wonderful story. It still exists, this book. I think it was very popular in the 80s and 90s, so I'm a little bit older here. And in this book, it's written that there is a wonderful, beautiful peacock coming into a company where all penguins are working. Only, these guys, black suits, white shirts, and then comes in the beautiful peacock, and he doesn't feel very comfortable because, they're all these black and white people, and he's not, or she's not able to shine with her, with feathers, So, and she's unhappy. And then she's leaving the company, and she enters in a company which is the land of opportunity. It's called the land of opportunity. And this is a company where we have all birds, and all beauties. And this is what you bring in. So you should be very self-assured about yourself. You bring in the color. And of course you do as you're Indian, but you look at your clothes, you're so colorful, and this is really enriching us Germans.
Can I just add one point to this, please? Most important is learn to be upskilling and reskilling yourself. And that is very critical, because you can tell that you worked on probably the processes, or whether you worked on some technology. It's changed. If you talk about you worked on mainframes, yes, mainframes are used today, only in the banks. Very small demand for it. So just remain upskilled and reskill yourself. Yeah?
Thank you to all our wonderful panelists for this insightful discussion, which I'm pretty sure has benefited the audience. You've taken back so many weapons as Ma Durga. And last but not the least, whenever you are searching for a job or facing rejection, I have this beautiful quote from Audrey Hepburn. Remember this will help you in your journey. So, the quote says, and say this to yourself every time out loud: I believe in being strong. It seems to be going wrong. I believe happy girls are the prettiest. I believe tomorrow is another day, and I believe in miracles. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to my
Definitely, this session was a real eye-opener for most of us. I think we've taken on a lot from here. So now is the time to acknowledge our dear panelists. For this, I request the President of the Indian Ladies Club, Ms. Dr. Dipali Taylor, to give a gift first to our moderator, Ms. Piyari Baumik. Thank you, Piyari. Ms. Lily Vasantini. Ms. May Kramer. Miss Clarissa George. Miss Mohini Kalir.